The year 2024 is a year of changes and turning points. Various unprecedented political events occur one after another, but upon closer inspection, they all evolve along two main lines. First is the major trend of increasing conservatism in Western countries, represented by Trump defeating Biden and the resulting main allies of the Biden administration. The president of South Korea in the Asia-Pacific region, Yoon Suk-yeol, faced impeachment by parliament after the failure of martial law. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida stepped down due to a corruption scandal, and the Liberal Democratic Party lost its absolute majority. Shigeru Ishiba was tasked with a critical mission. In the Philippines, President Little Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte's conflicts intensified, even leading to assassination threats. The essence behind these events is that Biden is about to be replaced by Trump. Governments that originally relied on an alliance with Biden to gain benefits found it difficult to maintain and were forced to use unconventional means, leading to internal conflict. In Europe, the French government, under Vagla, lost control of the parliament, turning into an absolute presidency. The traffic light coalition government in Germany saw a sharp decline in the popularity of Chancellor Scholz's party, forcing an early parliamentary election. In the United Kingdom, the Conservative Party lost its ruling position, and after the Labour government took office. These changes are partly due to Trump stating, after taking office, that he would withdraw support for Ukraine, leaving European countries. Their investments in the original political course were completely wasted, exacerbating the domestic crisis. The second major trend is the intensification of direct confrontations between major powers. The importance and influence of geographically strategic and powerful regions and countries in international affairs have clearly increased. For example, Evil Hand Lake in the Red Sea has managed on its own to leave the powerful United States Navy helpless to this day. Turkey, which has always been active, has stood out in the recent changes in the Syrian situation, stealing the spotlight from Russia. The Sahel countries alliance composed of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger held its first summit to cooperate on issues such as security, defense, counterterrorism, and economic development. These specific changes are certainly very important, but more important is understanding the trends they represent and the driving forces behind them in order to comprehend what constitutes a major change unseen in a century. On November 29, 2024, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, filled with concerns, flew to Florida to visit Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. After being elected President of the United States, Trump abolished many radical economic policies, including imposing taxes on neighboring Canada. Canada is not only geographically close to the United States, but also closely linked economically. Data shows that nearly 80% of Canada's exports flow to the pressure on Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau is imaginable. To avoid Trump continuing to wield the tariff stick, he had to personally visit. However, the development of this meeting exceeded everyone's expectations. The former and future US president once again shocked the world with his genius-like remarks. As the two sat in the reception room of Mar-a-Lago discussing tariff issues, Trump directly proposed that Canada join the United States as the 51st state and even offered Trudeau the position of governor, which sounded like a joke. However, for Trudeau, this joke was not funny. In recent years, Canada's economic growth and domestic issues have intensified, and it is extremely dependent.
Canada appears to be master servant of relationship, but in fact, its economic lifeline is largely controlled by the United States. This gave Trump ample reason to believe that US-Canada relations are not an equal partnership, but rather a kind of zoo. Therefore, Trump clearly stated that he hoped to see Canada make concessions before officially moving into the White House. Canada, apart from unconditionally cooperating, what is even more lamentable is that when this forced submission falls upon Western countries like Canada, the mainstream media then sighs at how overbearing Trump's America is. In fact, the United States has always used similar methods when dealing with non-Western countries, reflecting the power imbalance that third world countries have long faced. It is just now that it has happened to Canada. The more important question is why US pressure falls on Canada. Geographically, Canada is one of only two land neighbors of the United States. The land area is slightly larger than the United States, but the population is only 40 million. Moreover, in critical areas like economy and security, Canada is heavily reliant on the United States. These objective conditions make Canada an excellent target for extortion by the United States. In reality, the United States has indeed been changing Canada's economic structure continuously. Canada's high-tech industry has almost been completely absorbed by the United States. The main products Canada exports to the United States include oil, natural gas, and lumber. Grain, fish, and others have almost become American mines and ranches. However, in the past, the United States at least formally treated Canada as a core ally, not making blatant threats like Trump. The reason Trump does this, aside from his personal style, is that the internal conflicts within the United States have become difficult to control, leading to an urgent need to gain more economic benefits from the outside to conduct. Nowadays, this part of the region has been mostly developed, leaving only the difficult ones for sure. And the difference between Biden and Trump lies in that Biden's strategy is to continue expanding interests overseas according to the previous model, even if it means taking on difficult challenges and risking nuclear war, whereas Trump believes the cost is too high and suggests focusing on nearby allies that have not been fully developed. And the sudden shift in the United States from Biden's approach to Trump's approach has caused immense waves, making 2024 a year of bizarre events worldwide, with astonishing and dramatic changes happening frequently. Since 1991, as the successor of the Soviet Union, Russia's international status has rapidly declined. Former US President Obama once made a remark about Russia that displeased Putin greatly. He referred to Russia as a regional power to distinguish it from the global power status of the United States.
However, Russia is not willing to fall from the group of major powers. We're trying to prove that it is not only capable of influencing a corner of the world, but also the main processes globally, except for Syria, is Russia's resolute action to demonstrate that it remains a major global power. Tactically, this action has been successful.
Russia has were just part of a trend where the global power situation in Syria
became apparent and rapidly strengthened its relations with all major countries in the Middle East, regaining influence in Middle Eastern affairs. However, from a strategic perspective, Russia's actions are just part of a noticeable trend of global superpowers retracting.
This major trend is so unstoppable that even the United States is no exception. Russia's efforts are merely futile struggles, ultimately consuming valuable strategic resources in distant regions and bringing unnecessary consequences to wars occurring later at its doorstep. This concerns whether Russia can maintain its status as a regional power and its influence over the former Soviet Union member states. The rapid collapse of the situation in Syria proves that Russia no longer possesses the power of a global superpower. However, perhaps even more surprising is that after over a dozen years of evolution, the United States no longer wishes to be a global superpower and is nostalgic for the Monroe Doctrine era, when it was a regional power concerned only with American affairs.
The most direct reason for returning to the region
The overall returns from US foreign interventions can no longer cover the total costs, making each military intervention a loss-making venture, depleting the empire's strength and exacerbating internal conflicts. The reason for this situation is, on the contrary, war can no longer fully drive the American industrial behemoth as it did during the Second World War, benefiting the majority, but has instead turned into waste. The elected Vice President of the United States, Wang Xi, once stated that continuously increasing the original money amount has not reversed the war situation because this only leads to more dollars chasing the same amount of weapons. Since American arms manufacturers have limited capacity to increase production, they can only raise prices, for example. In 1991, the price of an American-made anti-aircraft missile was only $25,000 US. Nowadays, the price sold to Ukraine is $400,000 US, an increase over 10 years.